This NBA trade deadline about to be crazy, bro. With NBA champions such as Giannis and Anthony Davis likely to be moved this trade deadline, other All-Stars and all NBA talent as well, this is shaping up to be a trade deadline for the history books. With the biggest name this season being Giannis, who's playing at an MVP level on a G League team right now. It's unclear whether the Bucks want to move him. I want to run through both scenarios of trades and talk about the likely moves made if he's being traded or if he's going to stay. If he gets traded, this could be a good trade for the Warriors, where they pair Jonathan Kuminga and some rotation players to get Giannis. Bit of a stretch overall, but both sides get something in return that they need. Warriors have a chance to contend, while the Bucks get young players that fit their roster for the future. OKC have been fairly mediocre in their last 10 games, holding a 500 record in those games with a bad loss to the Charlotte Hornets. They may be feeling like making a trade that would easily make them the clear-cut favourite to win the championship this season, and for probably the next 10 seasons. The trade is Isaiah Hartenstein, Aaron Wiggins, Kendrick Williams, Nikola Topic, Thomas Sorber, and a fuckload of first-round picks for Giannis. This is an incredible offer. OKC don't mess up their starting five too much. They lose Hartenstein, but with Giannis entering the front court, I think him and Chet are going to be a better pairing anyway. And they just ship a bunch of first-round picks that won't benefit their team much anyway for Giannis. Also, the younger players have a lot of value, as they haven't gotten many minutes, but they do have a lot of upside to potentially tanking teams like the Bucks. Seems like a perfect trade to me, and they have so many ways of getting this trade through, as they could trade Jalen Williams if they feel like doing that. Overall, the Thunder are probably the most likely to get this trade done. Portland have some good assets to trade. They could trade Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Scoot Henderson, Young Hartson, and all of Milwaukee's first round picks back, which will be very valuable without Giannis. Portland have a bit of leverage compared to other teams, as they can let the Bucks start their tank and give them their first round picks back and some raw young talent in their players that could develop on their team. Now here's a prime clickbait thumbnail. Giannis to the Lakers. Pair Rui, Austin Reeves, and all their first round draft picks basically, and then some salary filling rotational guys. Lakers get an absolute stud to pair with Luka Doncic, while the Bucks get an all-star in Austin Reeves and a bunch of first-round picks. Not a bad trade at all, and even though it's unlikely, it's not completely stupid. The Celtics need to expand their front court, and they already have elite three-point shooting, and Giannis would fit their drive and kick approach perfectly. The trade is Derek White, Anthony Simons, and a bunch of first-round picks, basically. Bucks get a decent young player and draft picks, and the Celtics get a championship level front court when Tatum comes back next season, of course. Now, if Giannis decides to stay, or if the Bucks decide not to trade him, whatever happens, the most likely trade that everyone's talking about is Zach LaVine getting traded at the trade deadline for the second year in a row. The trade is Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, Kevin Porter Jr., and a draft pick for Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is a perfect pairing next to Giannis. He's more of an off-ball player that can hit threes, but he's also very efficient at the ring. Well, he can get buckets for himself. And you're not giving up too much. I mean, I think the most valuable player is the mayor of Milwaukee. I know Kevin Porter Jr. has some upside, but overall I think they're better off with Brian Rollins, me personally, than a criminal. So I like the trade. Another big name this trade deadline is Anthony Davis. He doesn't fit the Dallas Mavericks lineup, and they need to stop winning games, as they need to capitalize on their first round draft pick they have for this season, and this season only. The main trade to the Atlanta Hawks, they send out Tingus Pingus, Zachary Rizichet, Asa Newell, and a first round pick for AD. Mavericks are trying to fork out their Pelicans pick, which is projected to go number 1 overall, but Atlanta has made it very clear that under no circumstances are they willing to give that up. So this is the most likely trade for the Hawks. And with Anthony Davis's hand injury that reports say are fairly serious, his value has plummeted quite a bit. So salary filler, a young player, and a first-round pick. Seems like a good trade to me. Philadelphia have been trying to get off Paul George's contract since, well, he started playing for them. Pair him with Jared McCain, who hasn't been playing well for the 76ers, and their 2027 first-round pick. They could snag AD for relatively cheap, and he can fill in for Embiid and stuff, May as well. It's better than having Paul George, I guess. As I said before, the Celtics have a very thin front court. Even when Tatum comes back in the lineup, they got rid of Tingus Pingus and Al Horford in the offseason, so they could be buyers to get AD. If you pair Derek White and Anthony Simons with some first-round picks, similar to the Giannis trade, they could potentially be favourites in the East for this season and next season for pennies on the dollar. So it's basically just the Giannis trade, but with less picks. For the final trade, the Bulls need to get a clear number one option that complements Josh Giddey. So you get rid of the inconsistent Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, and their next 2 years of first-round picks, which are pretty likely to be pretty mediocre picks. And they get an elite center and a power forward that brings genuine hope to a very mediocre team that always has the lights shining bright on them every season. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing like a potential all-star this season, averaging 26 points on unreal efficiency for a small forward. Even though he's been playing well, it's clear that the Nets are aiming to lose more games in order to complete a proper tank and develop their younger players more. It makes the most sense for the Nets to acquire expiring contracts that allow them to push for the 2027 free agency class and stack their draft picks. The Clippers have been lacking three-point shooting throughout this season, and without their draft pick, they are destined to ride out the next couple of years and compete as a 10th seed. If you pair John Collins' expiring contract and Bogdan Bogdanovic with their 2031 first-round pick, both sides will get what they want in this trade. Clippers get more three-point shooting and a younger player who's in his prime and can hopefully carry this team to 43 wins for the next couple of seasons, while the Nets get assets to complete their tank. Another Bulls trade, they could ship off Kobe White again, the dead money of Patrick Williams and Jalen Smith with 2 first-round picks, and they get Michael Porter Jr. It's a very good package for the Nets as they get 2 young players and 2 first-round picks, which are always handy. They get a good pick-and-pop partner with Josh Giddey, who will always open up their driving lanes and give them more wins, potentially. They also get off the contract of the most pathetic NBA player in the league, so that's always good. Finally, the Spurs need a lot more younger wing depth and three-point shooting to completely fill out their roster. Combining Harrison Barnes and Kelly Olynyk with 2 first-round picks gives the Nets 2 expiring contracts with good draft capital, so a clear win-win trade that puts the Spurs in championship contention for this season. And overall just complements their lineup as they don't have much three-point shooting wings. Lauri Markkanen isn't a name that you hear of too often now. He has been absolutely balling out this season, filling up the stat sheet on a very bad rebuilding team. With Lauri Markkanen being in his absolute prime, he's wasting his talent playing for the Utah Jazz, and a trade needs to take place in order to maximize his value while he's still in his prime. The first trade is basically the other Warriors trade packages, basically the same thing as before. It's just if the Warriors can't get some of these other guys, then they can pivot towards getting Lauri Markkanen. The Detroit Pistons have looked very good this season, firmly sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference with a 24-10 record. However, if they want to properly contend this season, they're going to need to upgrade their offense, with them only being 10th in the league in offense. Combine Tobias Harris, Jaden Ivey, Ronald Holland, and their next 2 first-round picks, which won't be very valuable, seeing that they're at the top of the East, they can get an elite offensive superstar, while the Jazz get young talent, an expiring contract, and draft capital to continue their rebuild. Another similar one here with the Bulls. Add Nikola Vucevic, Zach Collins, and Kobe White with their first round pick this year. The Bulls can go out and snag Lauri Markkanen. This is a near perfect trade. Lauri Markkanen goes back to the city of Chicago, where he got drafted to play some meaningful basketball, while the Jazz get young talent and expiring contracts. This is one of my favorite trades of the video because it just works so perfectly. Now, we got the spoiled children who have all the talent but don't really care about basketball. Let's start with the big tubby boy. 8 million kilogram, Z Diddy, Zion Williamson. He's having a fairly good season, and he's played in 23 games so far, which is good for him. But he needs to go. His time in New Orleans has been so disappointing. If any Pelicans fan saw the right offer for Zion, they would say to him, "Don't hit the door on your way out, tubby boy." And that's if he can even fit through the door, which he probably can't. The Warriors need talent. It's basically the same trade, but you get Kevin Looney back, which is pretty good, I guess. Look, it's probably not likely to work out, but it's worth a shot, I guess. Like, they did it with Andrew Wiggins, you know? You get talent for pennies on the dollar. Similar trade as well from the Bulls. They give up similar players. You could honestly switch a bunch of these players to make this work. I think they could get this done even without Kobe White, but they still need the 2 first-round picks, as the Pelicans are seriously short on draft capital, and Zion would put them firmly in contention anyway for the Bulls. Overall, he just complements the Bulls roster so incredibly well. Arguably better than any other roster in the league for him, with all the three-point shooting they have. So another good trade here. Next out of the spoilt children, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo always be playing with one AirPod in. He can't lead a team even though the talent is undeniably there. I found one trade that fits in pretty well. I'm not sure if it's even legal with all the players in there, but whatever, just allow it. It's literally Dante DiVincenzo and 6 other guys to fill salary with 2 first-round picks from Minnesota. It's clear that these high usage rate, max contract, nonchalant point guards value with the Trae Young trade very recently. So salary filler and picks is not completely unrealistic to acquire LaMelo. And the Timberwolves need a genuine facilitator that can set up guys like Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle. So if Minnesota act fast, they can get a highly talented player for incredibly cheap. Now for the most annoying of them all, Ja. What a wanker. Obviously he wasn't fine in the West. So now I guess he's going to be fine in the East, I guess. Here's the trade. Nick Claxton and Terrence Mann for Ja. That's it. Like the Trae Young trade, kinda. Memphis get a very solid center that can fill in for Zach Edey through his many injuries. Brooklyn sell tickets and get a star who complements MPJ if they decide to go down that lane, which I'm not sure they will, but anyway. I think, like LaMelo, Ja's value is so low right now, and even though they take on a lot of salary, they get all NBA talent for literally pennies on the dollar, while Memphis get a good player in Nick Claxton. Overall, what are your thoughts on these trades, and how many of these players do you think are likely to get traded before this NBA trade deadline? Thanks for watching and have a good day.